Financing the war against Ukraine is the Kremlin's top priority. Defense spending in 2024 amounted to almost a third of the federal budget. According to economists, such a colossal injection of money into the military industry creates an imbalance within the entire financial system. And while the military-industrial complex is growing, the rest are only feeling the rising prices. On September the 16th, Putin signed a decree increasing the number of military personnel to 1.5 million people. This is 180,000 more than before. According to analysts, this will only worsen existing trends in the economy.
Increasing the size of the army will be expensive not only in terms of salaries and social benefits, but will also effectively require doubling the existing military infrastructure in Russia. If earlier Russian contract soldiers received an average of 300 to 400,000 rubles a year, now taking into account all payments, they can count on an income of up to 10 million rubles in 3 years. Taking into account other costs, housing, training, benefits, maintaining such an army will cost more than 3 trillion rubles a year. From the Carnegie Endowment Report.
Defense spending in Russia has already reached the level of the late USSR. Bloomberg, citing the draft law on the Russian budget, reports that Moscow plans to spend a record $142 billion on the military next year. This is twice as much as in 2023. At the same time, spending on education and healthcare remains at the same level, and there will be nothing to cover such a hole in the budget.
This year, Russians already have a deficit of about 3.5 trillion rubles, which they plan to cover at the expense of the remaining funds of their welfare fund. And at the moment, there is already a bill in the Duma regarding raising taxes by a total of about 3 trillion. That is, they plan to cover the budget deficit by raising the taxes this year. But we must understand that this deficit will increase next year. Therefore, in any case, there will most likely be not enough money.
According to analysts, the Russian authorities will not be able to collect much money from taxes, since companies simply will not generate much profit. Increased defense spending leads to overheating of the economy and acceleration of inflation. To combat it, the Central Bank of Russia raises the key rate. Because of this, banks issue loans at higher interest rates. This reduces commercial activity, which cools the economy, but this tool also has a downside.
The higher the discount rate, the fewer loans a business will take. The less loans a business takes, the less taxes it will have, the fewer jobs it will create, the less the economy will work in reality. What is happening in Russia now is very reminiscent of the last decades of the USSR, when crazy money was spent on the military-industrial complex, while consumer goods, the food group, were in a very serious deficit.
At the same time, Russia can't stop the rising prices. The inflation rate has been growing in the country for a year and a half. In August 2024, its annual rate was 9%. The central bank itself explains this in particular by a sharp increase in utility tariffs. At the same time, the rising prices for ordinary buyers is even higher. According to calculations by the research company Ramir, the annual inflation of consumer goods in August 2024 was 21.5%. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.